Welcome and step into the minds of addiction and recovery. Hello, I'm your host, Brett C. It is an honor to bring into light one of the darkest aspects of our society, addiction. With 20 years of active addiction and 20 years of sobriety, I hope to bring together all listeners on a journey of inspiration and education. With my co-hosts Jared F. and Rich J., we will be sharing our experience, strength, and hope for all listeners to enjoy and have fun with. Now, F3 Recovery brings you the Super Sober Podcast.
All right, welcome to the 20th episode of the Super Sober Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of the community and ongoing process here with the Super Sober Podcast, brought to you by F3 Recovery. We have another awesome interview. Been working on getting him in here for the interview. The schedules collided. Here we are. Just want to let you know I'm your host. My name is Brett C. My sobriety date is 4/21/03. I'm an RN with a BSN. I've been helping people out with this crazy convoluted disease, addiction. Been working in hospitals for 18 years. Been working in treatment in a detox in a hospital for the last coming up on 10 years. And we'll go to our right and introduce our guest here, Cliff.
Brett, thanks for having me. Cliff Miller, Kid Act 2. Been working in treatment the last 6 years. Same as you, just trying to help any way possible, man.
And what's your sobriety date?
July 16, 2017.
Awesome.
Blessed day.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Cliff. Been going to meetings with him for a while now, and just saw Cliff take 7 years. Amen on that one. It was awesome. I wanted him to keep on sharing for the whole thing, but it was a couple other people, one before and one after, so he kept it sweet and simple. But I've been getting to know him. We have a lot in common, and we have some mentors in common, and definitely the 12 steps that we both know and love. So when I hear him share, and I had been reached out and said, hey, when are you going to be on the podcast, or could you be a co-host or whatever? But of course, we got a lot of busy things that we're doing out there. So one of the first things I wanted to do is I was inspired by some other podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts and recovery out there, but to do some shout out dates on sobriety. So just wanted to put it out here that, we're in August, going to be working on some step 8 stuff, right? We're moving into making amends and making your list hopefully out there, giving a little bit of call to action for our audience, but we're going to shout it out. I have a brother right here that's, at the Step House right on a Wednesday night here at 7:00. Taylor H has taken 3 years. Haley, a friend of ours, took 1 year. Shout out to Haley. Kristen took 18 months today. I just found out. Shout out to Kristen. We also have Brandon Yu, who's coming up tomorrow on the 8th with 13 years of coming up on sobriety. Unbelievable. And then our bro El Jefe, Jeff R., taking 20 years coming up on this Saturday. And the coup de grace, the one that I love the most, and just shout out to the special one, Miss Super Sober, Jessie C. with 18 years. That's the wife right there, yes. So that's a lot of sobriety, a lot of things happening. It's an unbelievable month. So we're celebrating. I even have some nephews and a lot of people, birthdays. It's pretty busy, across the board with Belly Button and AA. So we're going to get right into it with Cliff's story. It's pretty amazing. So before we do that, if you need any help, there's so much help out there, but you can call this number for his house, New Creation. And that number is 877-868-5730. And that number again is 877-868-5730. That's his house, New Creation. And that's our sponsor. Glenn S. Is his name, and he's on podcast 12 if you want to go back and check him out, behind the scenes of people that own treatment centers and recovery and the whole process of that. So far we've done that podcast, and then we did on 18 was Inside Sober Livings, and then with Cliff, just preluding, so you come back after the commercial, he's going to also talk about how it is working in treatment and staying sober and keeping himself healthy. So we're going to go to commercial, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome to the place where it all began, the 9th Street House. Our maiden journey into hope and recovery for his house New Creation treatment centers since 1994. Right next door, the 9th Street apartment building stands as a testament to our commitment to providing comfortable and safe spaces for recovery. And on the other side, nestled amidst nature's best, our Palm House offers a tranquil haven to begin the path to sobriety. You'll find 12 unique His House New Creation treatment centers across Southern California. Just as recovery encompasses inner and outer transformation, our facilities mirror this philosophy. The external beauty of our homes reflect the nurturing and healing environments you'll discover within. These are just glimpses of the harmonious spaces where we support your journey to recovery. Our state-licensed and highly accredited programs echo this sentiment. We know that successful addiction treatment is more than skin deep. It requires a robust plan that heals the mind, strengthens the body, and nourishes the soul. We select the best facility to cater to your unique needs, providing focused, compassionate care that sets you firmly on the path to sobriety and hope. Welcome to His House New Creation Treatment Centers, where the journey to a healthier you begins. Your recovery begins here with us.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks for listening. Just letting you know that there's so much help out there. And if you don't, in the area of His House New Creation, don't worry, they will refer, just like any good place would. There's over 14 different treatment centers, all levels of care. And as of the 19th of this month, they'll be closing, that I just heard from Glenn S., on the 71-bed treatment center in Claremont. So without further ado, we're going to get into the story here with Cliff M. here with that 7 years of sobriety. Just wanted to give out another shout out to that one right there. It's pretty flipping amazing. If you don't think 7 years is a big deal, try to get it, right? Mm-hmm. So here we go. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about how it was. I mean, it's an awesome story. I was super impressed. Everybody at the meeting, I'm telling you, you got into it and people were dropping tears. It was like, wow. And what a story of transformation. We got another one right here, man. So go ahead and take off with it.
All right. Well, again, thanks for having me, dude. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And sorry we couldn't line up sooner. I really wish
everything lines up exactly the way it's supposed to.
You know, I believe that more and more.
Yeah, that's right, bro.
So I guess we're starting, you know what I mean? I grew up in Sacramento. Dad was like a meth addict, so he was with the Hells Angels riding around, you know.
Are you kidding me? He was an HA?
No. Yeah, and so we always had motorcycles parked on our front yard, and it was just kind of a madhouse, you know what I mean? Mom was working a couple jobs and doing her best and trying she just got sober when she had me and stuff. So, you know, growing up in that kind of lifestyle it was just different. I didn't really think anything of it, but going to friends' houses, you kind of notice, you're like,
wait,
it's like, you guys aren't all just
nobody's got a panhead in your family. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What kind of cycle did your dad ride?
Taking apart bikes in their garage and shit, you know. So it was just a little different, but it was something I remember like seeing it growing up and knowing and being like, I never want to do that. You know what I mean? I never want to fall into that shit. That's something I'll never do. You know what I mean? Look at later on.
Oh yeah. But part of an HA is your dad. It's we're gonna have to hear how you didn't become an HA. So keep going. Sorry, interrupting on that.
No, that's okay. I don't even know. So no, I grew up like I remember on my 8th birthday was the first time I smoked weed. My cousin smoked me out. She was cool. She was like my sister cousin kind of thing. You know what I mean? And smoked me out on my 8th birthday. And I just remember being like, I just want Little Caesars pizza. You know, like, that's all. I was super paranoid and didn't really touch it until like later on, till like middle school, started smoking a little bit and dabbling and stuff like that. And was still pretty cautious, like on like drinking and other stuff, just from seeing that, you know, early on. And then it wasn't till like I was like 17 or 18, I started drinking a little bit. And
but I mean, it's like there was a lot of drugs at the house, right? And your dad was involved
so
with it, and a lot of
they ended up splitting
nefarious activity and stuff.
Yeah. They was like I was always having to call the cops on him and do crazy shit like that. And it was just, you know, wasn't a great environment as a kid. My sisters moved out super young, 16. So it was just kind of me there and my mom. And he was, you know, pretty abusive and just stuff like that, just being on drugs all the time. Super sick guy.
So your mom wasn't partaking?
No, not anymore. She quit. So she got sober and was just trying to do her best. Yeah, I imagine it was. And so she ended up, he moved back to North Carolina where his mom was and ended up getting sober like last part of his life. He passed away from cancer like shortly after that. But he was, you know, tried his best. But at that time I was still really young and I wasn't ready to forgive him yet. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things where I was like, yeah, you're just still an asshole. You know what I mean? You did a lot of stuff, man. Like I can't just like forget the stuff that you've done. And so, he ended up passing away, and it was something I like regretted afterwards. I was like, man, I kind of wish I made a better connection. I just wish I learned where I got some of the traits I have that I know I didn't get from my mom. Where else did I get them? You know what I mean?
Right.
Who was this man?
And how old were you when he passed?
I was 11 or
Okay.
12, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But
That's
we
very
had,
young to be able to process
yeah.
the passing of your father.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, as you see in the rooms a lot, like we
Mhm.
grow up super fast.
Yeah.
When we're young, you know what I mean? Like having to do all these things. And I don't know. The way I saw it was just that I experienced a lot more as a kid and got to see those things and grow up a lot faster than some of my friends that
Right.
were still learning these things later on in life. And so, but yeah, after he moved, my mom ended up getting with another man like in Folsom, California.
Mhm.
And I was kind of bouncing around from my sister's houses, my grandma's, wherever, and then finally moved out there with her. And that was, 16, so I was already smoking a bunch, and I was already kind of, you know what I mean, dabbling around.
Progression.
Yeah, I was like just into the weed game, like really heavy, and that was like my plan in high school. I remember sitting in my like English room, and I was drawing out how I'm gonna grow weed. I'm drawing out
yeah.
my rooms I'm gonna do and all this stuff, and thought that was my life. I was like, this
Right.
is what I'm gonna do. I had friends that were already doing it, that were older, and
And that's Northern California. That's like
that
the
was
jam.
it. That was the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got into that pretty heavy, and it was actually pretty fun for a little while. You know what I mean? Like was having a lot of parties, doing a lot of stuff. It was, right around 2021. And so that's when like the drinking progressed and like the whole party and everything. And I'd gotten a motorcycle and looped my motorcycle out and compound fractured my leg. And that was the first time I was introduced to painkillers. And I was like, when I don't know, for some people they say, they had that first drink and they're like, I arrived. That was the feeling. It was just like,
So your first drink and your drug of choice was opiate.
was opiates. Yeah.
So you had been drinking for a while. Did you graduate high school?
No, didn't graduate. Dropped out senior year. Actually, didn't
So
drop out.
close.
I got kicked out.
Okay,
of a few.
let's get on
I was
this,
just
yeah.
ditching. Yeah, I got kicked out of 3. Actually, I went from like Bella Vista to Folsom High to continuation school to like just. I wasn't trying to.
Such a synonymous name, Folsom.
Yeah.
With the prison
The
up
prison,
there.
that's
and
what it
the
was. Yeah.
CDC turnaround with so
Yep.
many prisons up there in Northern California and everything. So
Yeah, and so didn't graduate.
was that ever like a process like, look, if you don't graduate and get your shit together, we're just going to ship you over to Folsom?
No,
Mom
mom
was never a threatening thing or anything.
No, nothing like that. We had like family that worked at Folsom Prison and stuff
wow.
like that. Yeah,
Okay.
my brother-in-law still works there now. My nephews work there now and stuff. It's kind of
Wow,
crazy.
What a trip.
I know.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just after that, like skateboarding, doing all these things, smoking a lot, growing, and then crashing the bike and finding that thing, that pill that I was looking for. You know what I mean? Where
So
it's
what was the first pill that you did take like that?
Norcos.
Okay.
Those
So you
yellow
heard-
V-check Norcos, the little 10 milligrams, I remember taking 2 and being like, wow, this feels really good. You know what I mean? My leg's better. It's still broken.
Yeah.
I'm walking around on
Better.
it. Like, yeah. And the next day I'm like, oh, this really hurts. I need 3 now. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
3 to 4 to 6 to, you know what I mean? Then I'm telling the doctor like, these aren't working as good,
Yeah.
Like, so and so he puts me on, was it Percocets?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And back then, you got to figure this was 17 years ago.
Mhm.
They were giving them out like
Yes.
easily. You tell the doctor you stubbed your toe.
The beginning of the opioid epidemic and crisis happening.
Yeah. And so they're just handing them out. They're passing them out to like my mom's friends and stuff that are older. They're giving them for them. And I'm buying all that I can because I'm just like, I could sell these things for more than, and then take them and do whatever. And so I was dancing, doing that for a while. And then all of a sudden the doctors stopped. They realized
How many years was that when you were doing that?
I think it was like 6.
6 years.
Yeah.
So
It's like
from
6
20 to
years.
26,
21 to like 27, something like that.
all prescription.
Yep.
This
All
is
prescription,
this
yeah.
is for the audience that doesn't know. This is the preluding right here of our first basic podcast going over the opioid epidemic
It was
and how things
wild.
have coming up with it and
Yeah.
what we're seeing to this day. So didn't even really think about that and when we were coming in, but let's just
Yeah.
keep going with it. And this is not only Cliff's story. This is a lot of people that are still struggling to this day
Yeah,
started on this. So
I know.
there's an amazing series called Dope Sick. If anybody hasn't checked that
I was
one
just going to
out.
bring that up.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
unbelievable
So good.
stuff. And then for us to work in treatment to the opioid epidemic and the progression. So
Yeah.
we're going to keep going with that. Just wanted to, that just hit on me right there when
Yeah.
we're going through it. So go ahead. So at 27,
Yeah.
what happened here with the
They,
doctor
they
situation?
cut them off. The doctors all started to stop giving people prescriptions as much. They cut it down like really heavy. Luckily, I still had like one guy that had serious like problems, that was really sick.
Yeah.
They're still giving
Still
him
maybe getting some fentanyl lollies or something.
yeah, they're giving him like a bunch of morphines and then Roxy because they stopped. This was after like the Oxy epidemic happened, like you were talking about. This was like when they realized all that stuff happened. They started getting in trouble, so they stopped making Oxy, but they were still making Roxy. And I was like, I could buy these.
Well, the difference between Oxy and Roxy is just basically the amount of Tylenol in it or something. Right?
Yeah, they're
or
still
the,
break them down,
or the duration of effect, right?
and the amount. They weren't
Right.
80s; they were like 30 milligrams
Yeah.
instead. But yeah. So after they stopped that, like I'd already had some friends that had been doing a little longer and were into heroin at the time,
right?
and meth. You know what I mean, and the harder drugs and stuff. And so, when you're sick, you start to cross all these lines you tell yourself you'll never cross. It's like those boundaries. You're like, I'll never do that. That's not going to be me. Like I said, I never want to touch that stuff. And next thing you know, when you're sick and your back's against the wall and that's all you have as an option, it's like,
it's too much. The
give it to
synthetics
me.
are hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, some of the worst withdrawals. I went to the methadone clinics. I did all that kind of stuff.
They put you on methadone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Went there, you know what I mean? And you get there and you realize everybody's on dope. Everyone's on drugs too. They're just on methadone and drugs.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Cliff, can you clarify when you say when you're sick, what do you mean by sick?
Dope sick. Like when you're sick, you're withdrawing and you're crawling out of your skin. And it's just the obsession in your mind is that if I don't get this thing, that I'm going to die is what it feels like.
Okay.
Yeah. If it truly feels like I'm going to jump out of a window, that restless, irritable, and discontent they talk about in the big book, it's truly what it feels like. And so
it's the next level with the opiates. You're not going to die from the detox,
no,
but it feels like you're dying. You shed the skin.
Yeah, it really does.
Hand of doom rat salad kind of thing for old Black Sabbath fans. Or there's so many different songs that have depicted this thing. But if you haven't seen anybody go through the massive kick before, like when methadone was really big or Suboxone and everything too, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
you'll do anything not to go through that kick.
And
because
I did. Yeah, I did a lot of shit that I'd never do. As a
that's the lifelong commitment for addiction that people don't understand.
Yeah,
and especially with the opiates, it's not a thing that you're not going to get high. You're going to get high that day, no matter what. No matter what you got to do.
Yeah,
or how it's got to go down.
And that's, I think that's why they talk about in the big book about a detox period is needed.
Right.
What kind of things did you do?
Like things that I said I would never do, like stealing from my mother. You know what I mean? Like things like going and breaking into construction sites and stealing copper.
Oh yeah.
And just
one of the primary hustles.
Breaking into my high school and stealing their guitars and their amps and stuff like that.
Just selling it for
yep.
Okay.
Selling it for money. Pretty much whatever I could. If
doing the return hustles.
Yep.
Depot, wherever you can do
wherever you can. My biggest one though, like I said, was I had one guy that was still really sick that was still getting painkillers, and I still had some people out there that needed them, and you could sell them for a lot more now.
Yeah.
And so the main hustle was buy all this guy's painkillers every month, sell them all, buy an ounce of heroin, do as much as I need to, and sell a little bit here and there just to maintain. That's what I was doing
to keep chipping away at
and
it.
So
now you went from that into heroin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're into the black now.
Yep.
From the prescription into the black, and this was a major process for mostly everybody.
Yeah, and it was I had a friend that was shooting up, and so it was. I tried smoking it a couple times. I was like, this really isn't anything. But at the first time shooting it up was like, oh man, yeah. Like I'm getting it was like the first time taking those Norcos again. You know what I mean? That feeling of just like, this is it again. Oh my God. It's so much cheaper too. You know what I mean? It was just, I was awestruck. I was like, okay, I guess this is it for now,
And how you have an addictive part of the whole method of shooting up.
Yeah. That's what it became, was the rush of it. The rush you get of when it's going in your veins.
The anticipation, cooking it on the spoon and doing, I wasn't a heroin addict, but I mean,
yeah.
seen it. don't know.
Yeah, I remember trying to do it for the first time by myself because I didn't know how to needle, and I was jabbing myself, and I was all messed up and stuff, and it was a nightmare, man. But that still lasted, 4 years. I was doing
So 4
meth and
years
heroin.
on meth and heroin. So
Yeah.
a lot of that process for people that don't understand is you're going low, right?
Yeah,
And then got to get your hustle going. You can't just be nodded out all the
Right.
time. So do
So
a
you
little
gotta
bit of
do a
meth to
little
level
meth.
you back out.
keep you up. Yep.
And you're
just-
shooting that too.
Yeah, I was literally by the end, I would make up 3 shots before bed. I'd make up 3 shots. I would do one before bed, have 2 for when I woke up because I'd wake up and already feel kind of sick, and do a shot just to get up, get ready, whatever I had to do. Wouldn't leave the house much, but you know what I mean? Just to feel okay.
Yeah.
It reached the point where it wasn't really getting high anymore. It was like, you
You
go
just
from
keep
getting
from being
high.
sick.
It was, it was maintaining feeling well. Was all it
Right,
was. It was
right.
just like, I don't want to be sick. I'm either down here or normal. That's it.
Right.
That's about as good as I get. You know
Right.
what I mean? And by that time, I had blown out all the veins on my body. I was like, literally, they still haven't really came back much 7 years later. And like my neck, my up here, pecs, arms,
So
down
you would
my
do
legs.
a Belushi, you'd hit on the jugs and stuff.
Yeah,
and-
I got a little scar I missed over
Karate.
here,
Mhm.
feet, all that stuff, hands, you know what I
Yep,
mean?
everywhere.
Everywhere I could.
running out of spots, and then you get your favorite vein,
Yeah, well, I
your
fucking,
favorite go-to, but then they're
they're
so
gone.
going
Yeah, and
away.
so I ended up muscling a bunch, you know what I mean?
Mm,
So it was
yes.
just to feel well. And so I just, in the arms, I got scars from
Right.
abscesses on my butt cheeks all over, just literally just trying to feel well.
Is
until-
that as effective or not as effective?
Not at all. It's just you're not sick anymore is all it is. It's definitely not like the rush that I was wanting from it. So it
Right.
still leaves you always like searching and looking for a better way and trying and doing whatever you can. Until I was getting it from these Mexicans out there that they had like a Mexican restaurant. You'd pull up to the Mexican restaurant and they'd come out, they didn't really speak English. And I got a batch that had it's called botulism in it. And, you're in the medical profession, so
Mhm.
it's a bacterial infection that just deteriorates your muscles like super quick.
Wow.
And so
So you got a bad batch finally.
got a bad batch, dude. And
So had you had overdosed before though on any of it?
so not on heroin, no. It was actually on GHB one time.
Oh.
I was up for several days. I couldn't get any like dope, and so I was just on meth and was like, fuck, I gotta sleep, you know what I mean? Starting to hallucinate and do stuff. And I was like,
Oh.
I'm just gonna take a cap full of GHB. That'll pass me out. And then I woke up in the hospital. My friends luckily,
You
took
didn't
me.
know the right dosage for GHB, huh?
No, I just took a swig off a water bottle of GHB.
Oh.
Didn't really think about it. Yeah. And I remember last thing I remember was trying to eat a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and spilling it all over myself. And I guess I wasn't really breathing. And luckily I still, we were both using together, but he was a friend from like middle school.
Mhm.
And so took me to the hospital, made sure I was okay. He's still out there, I think so.
Hey, during this time, where was your family? Where were your sisters? Where was your mom? What kind of intervention or support were you seeing?
Yeah.
What were they saying to you at this time?
So at that time, mom was, still loved me to death. She was distant, but loved me. You know what I mean? It was trying to help me in any way she could. Sisters at that time could kind of been like, okay, we can't hang out with you. I'm sorry.
We
You know?
can't have the terrorists inside our house or
Yeah.
around us because
Yeah.
they'll steal.
I had dropped a rig at a party, a needle, that had some
Uh-huh.
stuff in it at a party with like my nephews and nieces
Oh,
running
yeah.
around
Oh,
and
wow.
stuff. And so they were like,
Yeah,
we're
that
like,
was
we're like, we
that
didn't
was
kill you. You know what I
the
mean?
final straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're like, you're super weird now. You're on meth a lot, so you're weird.
Yeah.
We can't have you hanging out with these, your nephew and nieces and stuff. So they had like distanced themselves a little bit, understandably, totally
Right.
understandably.
So you didn't fight that.
No,
Now you're all
no,
forget it.
yeah, no, I totally.
Sorry about dropping the needle.
Yeah, no, I had full of guilt and shame, dude. When you're just
Right.
riddled with that feeling of like, I know I'm messing up, but I can't change it. Like I just
Right.
that powerless they talk about, it truly feels powerless. Like I had been doomed in alcohol.
You just flipping went into acceptance mode
exactly,
in,
and I
in the
was
wrong
okay with it.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
I was there too. Mostly all of us addicts and alcoholics. And it was, we see this over and over again with so many of the different podcasts that people really understand that they grew up in a certain kind of whatever it was growing up, and they didn't want to be like what they saw around them,
Yeah.
but they had not the coping skills or any of that to not become that,
Yeah.
or the right environment. And eventually you just kind of blend into it. I was the same way. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be like my brother or their friends or whatever. And sure enough, I grew up in this neighborhood and there was a lot of partying, and eventually I joined them.
Yeah, I think we see the social aspect of how important it is now.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? And what it
for sure.
means. Of course, in my addiction, even then, I knew all my actions I was doing was on me. I never blamed my dad, my mom, anybody for what I was going through. So it riddled me with guilt and shame because I didn't have anybody to blame but myself.
At least you didn't have that barrier.
I know. That was actually one of the greater things that I feel like helped me in sobriety was
Right.
to thine own self be true. Just honestly knew like nobody to blame, man. I wanted to do
It's
this.
on me.
Yeah, it's on me. Like seriously.
So
Hey,
did
I've got a question for
Sure.
either one of you guys.
Mhm.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is you got into drugs, for whatever reason, whether it was around you, to be cool with your friends, whatever, right? And then when you sort of hit your, I guess we call it prime with regard to addiction, you were doing it to get this high, to get this rush.
Mhm.
And then at some point, it got to the point where it wasn't even about a rush anymore. It was just about trying to just maintain some level of coherence and being able to function.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like it was almost like a false promise, like you were betrayed by drugs that, that you couldn't get into that anymore?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, take that one.
Yes. I mean, in a sense of it's like almost like an unseen hand that's doing this to you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where it's like a feeling that you know what you're doing is wrong, and there's just this chemical dependence that you're just like, if I don't have this, it's like when you don't have water for days, you're like, I need this. It's not even about that anymore. It hijacks this part of your brain where it's just like,
Yep.
I cannot go without this. You don't understand. You know what I mean? I will die if I don't have it. This is
Wow.
really the
Yeah,
obsession of
that's
the
the
mind.
opiate part of it.
Yeah, the compulsion part, all this stuff. Like you don't see it when you're in it. It's like being too close to a big picture. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
like, I only see this little spot of it.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much bigger. If you step back and look, man, there's so much more to this thing.
Yeah, it turns around and it really grabs you, and then it stops working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's when it really turns on you. And then like some of the powerful things, which we'll get into a little bit later with all of that, is all the different coping skills that they give us to learn how to do it, like writing goodbye letters to your disease and all
Sure.
that stuff too.
Love it.
So you meet with the Mexicans on that one area
Yep.
where there's a lot of stop by places if you have over the years where you can just pick up and you wouldn't think that some stuff with that would be going on,
Yeah.
and it still happens. So you get some bunk dope, and
Yep.
and you take a shot.
Yeah.
goes on
I was
from there?
actually I was taking several shots. You know what I mean? Like it was like 2 days where I was like, I bought an ounce of it. So I was using it regularly.
Mhm.
At the time I was at my mom's house, staying at her house. And
Mm.
I couldn't drink water. Like I just like, for some reason I couldn't swallow. I thought, hey, throat infection, something, whatever. It'll get better. Just going to keep going, And I remember it was like a couple days in where I hadn't been able to drink water, anything like that. And I tried to stand up and I fell down, and my mom saw me and she thought I was overdosing. So she
Right.
called the ambulance. They, rushed me to the hospital. I was laying, I'm in the bed getting ready to go back, and I tried to eat a piece of ice, and I aspirated on a piece of ice, just trying to just eat ice. You know what I mean? I blacked out.
Because your throat was closing up, right? The muscles
Yeah,
were shutting
It was
down.
shut down
So your
completely.
epiglottis couldn't move, so it went straight into your lungs.
Yeah. And so I don't even remember. I just remember waking up and they're like, hey, we got to do a tracheotomy, like immediately. Like you
Mhm.
can't even breathe on your own. And so,
And you still got the scar right here?
yeah, I got this
Yep.
sweet
For
scar
anybody
from
that
it.
can see that, when they see those are
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah. And so at the time I was just like, I was so tired. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, yeah,
You got to do what
do
you
what you
got to
gotta
do.
do. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I was like, honestly, in the back of my head, I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is when I end up fucking dying,
You were too tired to.
fight. I didn't
Right.
have that fight in me, But so they did the tracheotomy, and I remember waking up and kind of getting my bearings a little bit, and they're like, we have to hold you for a little while. I was like, oh, you know what? I can get drugs in the hospital. Honestly, first thoughts, man. It's like, they got good drugs here.
Yes, we hear this story a lot.
So they hooked me
Yes,
up on the fentanyl machine. And,
Yes.
you know, they're coming in all the time, checking in, and I can't talk. I got the tube in my throat. So every time they would come in.
So how long were you put under though? Were you ever put under propofol or pressors?
Like
as we call
anesthesia
them?
for, to
Yeah,
go
to
to
keep
sleep?
you under. Did they intubate you?
Yeah, just for the time during the process of the surgery.
Okay.
And
So
so
what surgery did they do? Just the trach part?
just the trach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were awake for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wish I got to sleep through some of it, but
Yeah. Okay.
nope, I got to feel it all. But every time they'd walk in, I would ask them for a shot. I would just signal. I go,
Yep.
shot time, you know. They're giving me some good drugs in there for a little while, you know, until I think the doctors are pretty smart. You know,
Oh,
nurses
yeah.
are pretty
They
smart.
know.
And they're like, we think you're a drug addict. We think you have a problem with this
If
stuff."
not, you're becoming one.
Yeah. They're like, you're on the highest dose of fentanyl we can give you without you dying.
Oh, they
And
had
you're
you on a
asking for
PCA
more.
pump with fentanyl.
Yeah. It was, you know, the little box, the little digital machine, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sitting there trying to mess with it because I know
Yeah.
it pumps out.
It's on a lock. So,
I
I mean,
know.
for all the medical community out there, it's called a PCA pump.
Okay.
And so they have a lock on it, and it's usually 2 nurses that check it.
Yeah.
And it shows, so we set the amount of dose as in per how many shots you can take or the dosage per hour or half an hour
Yeah.
or whatever the doctor's going to prescribe it.
Mm.
And no matter how many times you press the button, and it counts how many times you press the button. So sometimes I've seen, you know, hundreds in
Oh,
an
yeah.
hour, but it's still only giving you
Yeah.
four cc's of whatever the dosage of the morphine or
Yeah.
whatever the fentanyl is.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
you
was
said so
trying.
the nurses and the doctors are seeing it. You're just probably hitting.
So I was really trying though. And I had, you know, I had a friend out there and she tried to bring in, because I had a pick line in finally. I could
Oh,
finally
yeah.
get a vein, you know, and
Oh,
tried to have her
yeah.
bring me something in. And, you know, my mom's there with me the whole time. So she's watching my phone every time I fall asleep. They realized that I was trying to get someone to bring it in. They caught her at the door.
Ooh,
I can get her
good
out.
job.
I was like, damn, all right. Well, that's
that
out,
happens
you know?
a lot in hospitals.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's when I had to go through withdrawals. You know what I mean? Like they cut me off of the drugs. I'm literally, you know, going through the whole process of having this infection. And then during that time I'm on a bunch of antibiotics. So I ended up getting C. diff,
Right.
which,
Of course.
you know, yeah. And so I'm full hazmated up. No one can come in to see me.
Yeah. Your isolation precautions.
I got pneumonia super bad too.
Mhm.
Luckily, having the tracheotomy, they could go through and scrape a lot of it out real easy. But man,
Bronchial wash for people that don't understand what's going on with
it was
a lot of the
process.
medical field with that. So, I mean, if you take a lot of heavy antibiotics, it's going to destroy the bacterial flora in your stomach, giving
Yeah.
you C.
Oh,
difficile. So,
it
Clostridium
messed my stomach
difficile,
up. Yeah. But
which is a real nasty smelling poop.
it
And
was
everybody
bad,
in the
dude.
flipping medical field knows quite well. It's a special tingy.
Oh, God. But at the time, like I didn't realize what was happening, but it was deteriorating all of my muscles. You know what I mean? So I'd
Yeah, your
wake up.
muscle
and I
wasting. So, how many weeks in the hospital was this for you at this point?
couldn't-
You're starting to kick.
it was like 2 or 3. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks in. I was luckily that time, you know, I was getting them. I was like, yeah, it hurts really bad, you know, around the incision. So they're giving me stuff for the first few weeks. But after
You were
that,
playing
it's-
whatever it was.
Oh,
It's like, no, that's healed up. That trait
Yeah.
don't hurt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they knew, but they're still, you know what I mean, have to do their job and have to like give me a
Absolutely.
little something or whatever it is. But I was a troubled patient. I'd say that much.
Right.
You know?
So how bad was the kick in there?
I mean, I don't
Did
know.
they have to restrain you? Did you try
That
to
was
get
my
up out of
next
bed?
question. Yeah.
Yes, many times. Throwing clipboards. My restless leg was so bad, so I'd shake the bottom of the
Right.
bed constantly, you know. And so they
That's why
put
they
the
call it
mittens on me.
kicking.
Yeah, they put the mittens on me and tied me down a bunch because I would have these fits where I
Right.
would literally try to stand up. I couldn't walk. I was down, you know, at the time I dropped down to 113 pounds. So I couldn't even walk. I couldn't get out of the bed. And so I'd try to take the shit on me and
Yeah, yeah.
get the catheter out.
You weren't pulling your pick line though, were you? No,
No.
that was the last thing any addict's pulling. There's good
I'm
access
taking
to
that
their-
with me.
Yeah.
So I'd throw a flip out and they'd come in, a couple of them hold me down.
Oh yeah.
They'd, you know, tie me down to the bed. They'd give me the little hand mitts,
Yeah.
you know, and strap me down.
Don't tell me you tried to spit on some of them sometimes.
No, I don't think I tried to
No?
spit
Okay,
on
good.
any of them.
You weren't being malicious.
No, I was
You were just
throwing
trying to
a-
get
I
out,
was a
just-
big baby.
Yeah.
I was a giant child.
No, I hear you. That's called a code gray in the hospital. If you ever hear that and you're in a hospital and you hear a code gray called overhead,
Yeah.
that means a show of support is coming. Combative patient.
Yeah, I think I had a couple code grays then.
Yeah.
but
But
Show of
understandably, though.
support.
yeah,
Go ahead, Solomon.
The show of support, you said?
Yep. They call it a show of support. Yes. Been in a lot of them. So it's a fine way, but they knew you were kicking.
they
So
did.
I'm sure they had a lot of empathy with that also,
Yeah.
too.
Definitely had some nurses that were just like full of that, man, full of empathy, full of just trying their best with me. You know?
And was this hospital designed for this, or were you in a regular hospital, or
regular
was it
hospital, ICU.
okay? So you weren't in any kind of treatment facility that actually is trained to deal with this kind of stuff.
No,
Okay.
they did not have that kind of training, but a lot of them had, good nursing training that they
Yeah.
knew what was going on and they knew how to handle me in that situation and stuff like that. Some of them would even take me outside on the wheelchair, give me some sun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really cool and really great people.
And were you a smoker?
No.
Okay. So, whew,
Yeah.
might have been really bad if you weren't going to get some nicotine on top of all that.
Yeah, but ended up finding out one of the nurses, I don't think they were supposed to tell me, but they're like, yeah, 3 more people came in with it, with the same shit. Botulism. 1 right before you, passed away. 2 after you, passed away.
Oh wow.
And they're like, don't know why you made it. I was like, I don't know either. I don't have any fight in me. You know what I mean? I had nothing left to like try.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember laying there and being like, fuck, dude. Like, I remember my mom sitting there and she's rubbing my hair and she's like, where did I go wrong? What
Yeah.
did I do to you? And I was like, you didn't do anything. I couldn't tell her because I had the thing in, so I'm trying to write it on a notepad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, you didn't fucking do anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
And she's praying there for the whole time for you. And now we know why you're alive, too. On the other side of all that, man.
Yeah.
Condolences to your mother
Yeah.
and all of that, too. So,
But yeah, after that, I remember praying that night for the first time. Like, I don't, I had some situations when I was young where I tried to pray, it didn't go my way. So I was like, he's not listening.
yeah, that's
You know what I mean? So I just remember praying. I was like, just honestly, just kill me, dude. Kill me or do something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And that was the last time I used. I tried afterwards. You know what I mean? Like after getting out of the hospital, I tried to pick up. I had 1 week before going into detox.
Okay, so you
was
got
home.
out of the hospital.
Yeah. Could barely walk.
Okay.
113 pounds.
And here's a picture right here of him.
This-
This
yeah.
is 60 days after you
Yeah,
said?
that was 60 days after detox. So that was me like well at that point, like much better. That little nurse on the right, the girl is one that she would read the Bible to me. She would
Oh, my
take me
gosh.
out. Yeah.
So you had your Eskimos and God watching over your shoulder anyways right there in the ICU. And there's another one, Solomon, after that with him really
Oh, yeah.
standing thumbs up on that water bottle, but didn't really know you're putting the thumbs up on that.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. I think I was just trying to stay awake at that time. I was so tired all the time.
Was that a Halt shirt?
energy.
Or
Yeah.
the hungry, angry, lonely, tired shirt?
No, no,
okay.
no. It was a skateboard shirt.
Oh, okay.
I was like still missing the front tooth there.
Yeah. Now, is that something that happened in the hospital?
The tooth.
Yeah.
I think that happened prior, just doing drugs and shit. Like that. You don't really take care of your teeth or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
It's the last thing on the list.
You got a good
but-
smile now.
Yeah, I mean that was I think 30 or 60 days in. My mom finally got to come out and see me in treatment, and
Mm,
yeah, so we went out to eat, and she was happy.
yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're still just kind of loaded.
I was still just tired, man. Every
Yeah.
time, like even after all that stuff, like my body was just exhausted.
Yeah,
Every time I'd sit
you had
down,
a lot
I'd
of
fall
muscle
asleep.
wasting. You had a lot to
Yeah,
bring back.
yeah. There was a lot of physical problems. You know what I mean? That was just I was trying to deal with and
Yeah.
get back to health. Really,
takes
just
time.
coming off of the antibiotics. I was on it for another like 4 months after
Yeah.
getting out too. They have to keep you on it for a while and make sure you're clear. of
Make
that
sure
stuff.
everything's gone. They
Yeah.
didn't know how.
So yeah, it was pretty bad to withdraw. I'd say, you know what I mean. A lot of people hear it and they're like, "That's a good reason to quit." And I'm like, that didn't even make me want to quit, dude. Like I said, I tried to pick up after getting out of the hospital. There was 1 week my mom left, and I was at her house. She was worried, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Before
everybody
I
was
could
worried.
get into detox, and I'm calling people, and nobody's answering. Nobody's picking up. Nobody will bring me anything out.
Because the disease is all hanging up for him on the other side.
I didn't know what it was. I think at the time I thought, oh, maybe everybody thought I got in trouble because nobody could hear from me for months,
Yeah.
So maybe they thought I got in trouble and now I'm out. All of a sudden they're sketched out.
Finally picked him up. He's in jail.
Yeah.
Let's check the local look up here.
And so, but nobody, I couldn't get anything. So I never got to get that last high. You know what I mean? That one where like,
I get
I
one
want
last
one more.
hurrah. Who goes
more
into
before
treatment
detox.
without getting high first?
yeah, that was the one last thing, And so I think that was kind of God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Absolutely. It would have kicked it all off over again.
Dude, I probably would have died. I mean, I was 8 weeks off everything at the time.
There's some more pictures of your mom right here too.
Yeah, she's sweet. But
And she
So
loved you throughout, huh?
what's that?
She loved you throughout. She supported you.
Oh
throughout.
yeah. She's probably my biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with my mom too.
Mamas do that.
Yeah. But
So you go into detox.
going to detox, it was a short stint. It was like 4 or 5 day taper. I was in there for 7 days.
Right.
And then straight to PHP, where I went straight to this place that I'm
Because they
working at.
considered a lot of your detox already done in the hospital. They just
Yeah.
needed to make sure you were safe for the rest of that.
Right. Yeah. I think it was that. And at the time I didn't have insurance. at the time. And so
Okay.
my aunt, who's my godparent, paid for me to come out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that was
sweetest
out
lady.
here.
Yeah. So
That's how you.
that's how I
transitioned
got out here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom drove me out. I remember having we stayed in a hotel.
This
night
guy needs a
before.
geographic, if anything, right?
Yeah.
He needs a
They're
new
like,
fresh start.
yeah.
We can't let him
And
get
at
sober
the
in this
time,
environment.
I was like, I don't care. I was like, anywhere, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Anywhere. And luckily I landed out here, the things that brought me out here. I got on the phone with the guy. His name was Dylan. He's like, yo, we got a disc golf out here. We got a beach. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
SoCal, Orange
I
County.
was like, I don't care. I just need help,
Yeah.
And so after detox, landed in this place called R&R Recovery, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, luckily,
Organic from the ground up.
I
Okay.
know. Yeah, and so ended up starting. They started taking me to meetings. You know what I mean? It's the first time I'd ever been introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Never been to a meeting before.
No, never been to a meeting. So you know what I mean? Truly didn't know there was a way out.
Mm.
I think prior to getting sober, I was already looking for a way out. I was smoking DMT and doing acid and stuff because I'd heard if you go do a bunch of ayahuasca or something, you might have an experience that can change you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just looking for it in the wrong places. I didn't realize.
Right.
You know what
right.
I mean?
Right.
So coming into the rooms and they were kind of talking about that. They're like, yeah, like seeing some people that I heard and I was like, kind of believe that you use like I use or drank like I drank. You know what I mean? Maybe, just maybe there's a way out, And some dude came up to me and he was like, do you need help? And this is the first time I think anybody had like really like sincerely was like, I have help for you. Just need to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? And I tried to jump in with both feet. Was a little hesitant, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Like I said, I think before this, I said like, I think it will work for you guys, but I don't think it'll work for me. I was in that mindset of like, I am so far off than you guys, you have no clue.
Yeah. We could not possibly understand the
Yeah.
depths of your
You
sorrow.
my sponsor is just he was just an alcoholic. He just drank.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. He can't
Just
understand.
a good
this
old
stuff.
alcoholic.
Yeah.
What's he know about botulism?
Little did I know.
Shoot.
Yeah. The man saved my life. You know what I mean?
So, Cliff, when you went to that first meeting,
Mhm.
you hear a lot of stories about people going in with a bit of arrogance, like, I'm not like you guys, I'm not as bad as you or whatever. Do you feel like at that point you were past that and you were just sort of willing to, like you said, jump in with both feet? Or was there still some resistance to like, you guys are nothing like me?
There was you guys are nothing like me. It was I'm way worse than you.
So the opposite.
So there's the inferiority complex part. So thinking I'm less than everyone else. And then also I had a lot of
Sicker.
prejudice. Yeah. A lot of prejudice towards God.
Right.
He hadn't worked in my life, I thought. He hadn't, done the things I'd asked him to do.
Right.
And so I had these things going in that I think blocked me for a little bit, but I was willing to at least take the steps or give it a shot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Started reading through the book and man, that thing opens your eyes if you really read it. You know?
Right. And you got a
It's-
good mentor to take you through it.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely was the type that had me relying on God more than him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Every time I'd call him, I was at my sober living, and I'm like, these guys suck, man. They're they're leaving their dishes all over the
Yeah.
house, and my roommate's leaving his clothes everywhere, and blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, did you pray about it?
Yeah.
Hey, did you turn to God? What do you think God
Yeah.
would think? You know what I mean? All these things. I'm just like, yeah, dude, that doesn't work. Like, what you?
Yeah. Did you help them clean it up maybe or pick it up or
Be
do
of
a little bit
service
more than
or something?
complain?
Yeah. He's like, did you call 3 alcoholics like I asked you to do?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, man, that doesn't work for me. You know? I want answers here. You don't get it.
Did you do anything more than nothing?
Nope.
Did you call your sponsor?
Nope.
Did you pray?
Nope.
3rd step prayer?
Nope.
7-step prayer?
Nope.
And so those were the things that held me back, I think, in the beginning. But after reading through We Agnostics, the chapters opened my eyes so much. And that second step was the hard one for me.
Right.
Was, coming to believe in something greater than myself. Not that I felt like I was greater than anything else. It wasn't that. It was just the idea that there's something else out there. There's some other way that I can turn and actually give my trust in that can help me. I always thought I had to figure it out. And so when I read, there's a part in there that says we had faith, all right, faith in our own reasoning, faith that we would figure things out on our own. I was like, yeah, I think that's how people do it, right?
Right.
Little did I know, it's like, no.
Look what it availed you.
Yeah. Look where you're at, in a top bunk in a sober living somewhere.
Closest to God on the top bunk. Right?
Closest to the ceiling fan is what it was. But yeah, man.
So how quick did you get through the steps in your first year? Did you get through the steps?
It was about 9-10 months in when we ended up finishing up, you know what I mean? And so we were meeting up every week, you know what I mean? I'd see him at the morning meeting all the time. He'd always nudge me, hey, get your hand up, man. Get your hand up. I'm like,
that's good.
I don't know what to say. I'm just an alcoholic, you know what I mean? Like,
I think I know your sponsor was too.
Yeah,
You
Mr.
shared
Bob, dude. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
What a great
man.
guy.
Really is, dude. Super patient with me. Come to my sober living, meet up with me, just sacrifice a lot of his time, which I see like now
That's
is what
somebody
it
that
takes.
you can tell that's got the pep and the step and the light in his heart.
Yep.
Just-
And that's what I think it was that I needed, was that
Yeah.
like somebody that was patient with me, that he was a believer. He, and he believed that the program worked for him too. And, I just followed his lead, walked through the steps. And it wasn't till I think it was 6 months in or something like that, and like everyone's sharing and they've had these spiritual experiences and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, there's still something missing in my heart. There's still something that I don't have that these people have. There's just a hole there. Everyone talks about the donut, all these things. And I'm just like, when am I going to get this thing? When is this experience going to happen for me?
Yeah.
And I was at Sober Living, called him again, complaining. And he's like, you know what, do me a favor and go read Acceptance is the Answer. And I remember reading through that and reading of one line in particular. It said, it's a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us.
Yes.
That we are all children of God and we each have the right to be here.
Right.
When you complain about you or me, you're complaining about God's handiwork.
Yeah.
You're saying that you know better than God. And in that moment, I swear to God, it was like a button was pressed. I was like, what the fuck?
The acceptance prayer liberated my life too.
Yeah.
I mean, you read that. That's why we tell you 417 paragraph 2 is my gift to you.
Literally like a button. I was like, when did I start believing in God? And how long have I been playing God for? You know what I mean? Really eye-opening moment for me where it was just like, this is the spiritual experience they're talking about.
Hey, Cliff, can I ask? So at this point, you're 6 months in. How was your addiction at that point? How were you feeling day to day? Did you have a desire to use drugs? Was it less? Was it more? Was it constant? How were you feeling at that time?
So no, I didn't have like a desire to use drugs anymore at that time. You know what I mean? There was like the first few weeks when I'd still like have these crazy, I'd catch a thought where I'd be like, man, getting high sounds good. And I would start to follow that thought down a little rabbit hole. I could call people in Sacramento to drive me something out to Huntington Beach.
Oh my
you know what I
God.
mean? And you start chasing that thought and you get these cravings. And then I'd throw the phone down. And like I said, I was 113 pounds at the time. I'd try to do a couple push-ups and then go to something else, get up out of the bed, go talk to somebody. You know what I mean? But I don't know when the obsession was actually fully lifted. That's a tough question. And I think it's honestly when I decided that, like I said, to jump in, when I decided that, when I made that decision of myself, like, I can't do that anymore. I can't follow those thoughts anymore because I know where they lead. It's just causing me this mental torture, dude. I'm torturing myself with this stuff.
Learning thought redirection and learning the coping skills are starting to take in.
Yeah.
Calling
Treatment
your
taught me so
sponsor,
much shit, dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, it really did. I think it's underrated in people's lives. You know what I mean? AA is amazing. And I
Yes.
love AA to
Right.
death. I think it saved my life. It
Of
gave
course.
me a fellowship. It gave me a God of my understanding, all this stuff. But the people in treatment, not just that brought me there, but some of the people that were around me at the time, as far as staff and stuff like that, became some of my best friends. You know what I mean? It was just, at the time, they're like, "Yeah, you're still a client. We're going to treat you kind of like a client, like,
Right.
with these hands and stuff like that, but we're here for you." You know what I mean? And it was that therapeutic alliance that they'd built with me that kept me around.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because at 3 months, they're like, your time's up here, man. What do you want to do? I was like, can I stay? Can I stay another 3? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah.
Don't make me leave.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so,
It's a jungle out there, you know. And now I'm in OC.
6 months, I was just
You
like,
didn't need people to bring you down stuff from North Cal.
I
It's been
know.
OC.
I know. I just, it was just those crazy thoughts that I had to stop following.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did you have a place to go? Like, if you had gone out of those 3 months, would you go back to family, or where would you?
Yeah,
go?
I think mom would have taken me back in.
Okay.
You know, she was very loving and caring and wanted the best for me. But I think she knew in her heart that it was better for me out here. So when I made that decision, she was like, I fully respect that.
Right.
I want you to.
got a new place and new playthings and a
Yeah.
whole new
she
everything.
saw
and a
how I
new-
was changing.
and she
yeah.
could hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it. You can tell.
Oh,
People will often see the change in you far before you saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's you start to take a look at it. And so let's just get into where you're at now. We got a little bit of time left. So
Yeah.
now you work for that treatment center.
Yeah. I've been
I didn't know this
6
part of your
years.
story with it.
Yeah.
You went back to school.
Yeah. Went back to school, got my KDACT, realized that I needed a high school diploma or GED to become a counselor.
You
So I had
got
to
into
go back for
the
that.
educational hustle.
Yeah. Doing full-time work and doing weekend school. You know what I mean? So it was that grind for a little bit, but 1 year of your life passes by all the time. It's like the next thing you know what I mean? I was doing the tech work and I realized what I liked was when I got to sit down with a client and like actually talk with them and like be that person that somebody was for me. That's why I was like, I think I need to get into counseling.
Yeah.
I think
That's a path for a lot of people.
yeah. And I just
They
didn't
want to give it
didn't
away,
know.
but you uploaded the 12 steps and you used the process. I think it's a
Yeah.
big problem when those that haven't got a thorough foundation want to go teach it.
Yes. And I think that in, working in treatment, you hear this all the time that, hey, treatment's not your recovery.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I know. I knew that starting. The people that
Yep.
taught me started and they said, you better have your recovery come in. You better take your AA program into work.
Yes.
That's the first places it tells you is occupations and affairs, work in your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take your program there first. And so that's the biggest thing for me now is just that you asked me before this, how do I stay sane? And how do I keep from burning out is what they call it.
Right.
Working
And
in
he was doing an intake on a call just when we were driving over here,
Yeah. I still
handling stuff, helping
taking
save another
calls.
brother.
Yeah. And it's through working a program, man. And through
Absolutely.
God really is the main focus nowadays. I've been chasing that for the last few years.
And you go to a local place. We got some pictures of you being baptized.
Yeah. This happened
Yeah.
3 years ago. Yeah.
That's
Around
awesome.
3 years ago. It was during COVID, I started like reading the big book heavy and it kept
Mhm.
pointing me in that direction. It says, search deep down within yourself.
Yeah.
In that last analysis there he's found, I looked at my prejudice where I had been contempt prior to investigation,
Uh-huh.
was church, was, reading the Bible.
Yeah.
I
Go and
started
hang out
diving
and see what
in.
happens.
Yeah. Go in with an open mind and just
Right.
see. And so I tried a bunch of churches and I went to this place, Friends Church. And it was like, when you go to a meeting and you're like, damn, I needed to hear that exact thing today.
Uh-huh.
That happened to me the first day I went in that church.
Oh,
It happened the
sweet.
second day I went in that church. It just
And it's been happening since.
it kept happening. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so it's changed my life for sure. Like,
And here's some
all around.
friends right here of you, right here at the bowling alley.
yeah, that's my bowling team and just some friends. It's just part of like
Are all of them in recovery or
no,
those are
the-
just
So I
Your
have
friends. You
I have
got
a bunch
normie
of friends
friends and-
outside of
yeah.
here now too.
Yeah,
I've built
me
like
too.
sub communities and subcultures outside of here through sports. I play spike ball. I get to travel, play. This was Utah.
I
went
know
to
it's a
travel
few times
tournament.
why you couldn't be here because you're out
I had
doing the spike
tournaments.
ball
Yeah.
tournaments and
Yeah.
going to Miami and up north.
I
And
know. I'm going. I got a few this coming up this year. I just went to Seattle for one.
amazing, right?
I know. Well, something I picked up in treatment too. It was
Yeah.
a funny thing. It was like one of the little games they have. They have like ping pong and
Oh,
spike
yeah.
ball. And I was like, this looks fun. And so I started getting online and looking for local games in my area.
Mhm.
And I just would go and meet random people. I was like, I don't even
Yeah.
know these people in Irvine. We
Yeah.
go play with them.
Now
You
you
know what
got
I mean?
hobbies and you're living life.
I've met some of the coolest people. That's where I actually found that church, was through those people.
Oh.
I know.
Following the flow.
Dude, it's weird. That's like my closest fellowship there. Like people
how
at my
cool is
home
that?
group of Friday night meeting.
Uh-huh.
Just some of the people I've known forever, big tournaments, stuff like that. But this is all just gifts of the program.
And you were able to make amends to your mother who passed away. What
Yep.
year was that?
She just passed away last year.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still
I'm
pretty
so
recent.
glad that you got that 6 years with your mother
I know.
and she got to see the man that you became.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience because, after something like that happens, you really like search, you're like, why would this happen? You know what I mean? What's the purpose of this, God? I've been trying to lean on you and trust in you and do all these things. Why would this happen? You know what I mean? And after processing through it a little bit and realizing that, like, I'm so grateful that I got her for that long.
Yeah.
That she got to
absolutely.
see me sober, man.
Yeah.
If I didn't get sober, God, I don't know how it would have felt. I was already riddled with guilt and shame before that. You know what I mean? Like,
more though.
luckily, having God in my life has helped me with that kind of stuff a lot. Where I've
Yeah.
letting go, like I had a whole prayer session where I let go of the stuff with my dad,
Mhm.
forgave him, forgave all
Amen.
this stuff. And it's just
A
amazing.
lot of forgiveness.
Oh yeah. And what it does is it honestly, like in the St. Francis prayer, it makes you feel forgiven is what I
Yeah.
realized. When I can really let go of any of those resentments I have, I feel like I'm okay. Like I'm okay. Everything's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just an amazing thing, dude. And I'll never.
So glad you got to take that journey and everything. And it's
Yeah.
So any other questions you got? We covered a lot of ground. Anything else you want to ask him, Solomon? Or
There was just a couple of things just early on, and we had sort of gotten past it. But you said you used to call the police on your dad. Was it because he was abusing you or your mother, or both?
Yeah, my mom. She
Okay.
was pretty abusive to her and stuff like that. And so I'd grab the phone, call the cops, and I'd run through the backyard and jump the fence. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
couldn't catch me.
Yeah.
I was faster.
He
You know
knew
what
he
I
was
mean?
calling the police.
Yeah.
And then you said at one point your mom got with another guy in Folsom. Did you have any interaction with him?
Yeah.
Did he use? Was he in?
No,
He was a good
he
guy, or
he was he was a good guy. We didn't get along so much because I was in my addiction.
got it?
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was in my addiction, so I wasn't a healthy person. So of course I always thought my mom could do better. You know what I mean? But she's happy.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, she was happy.
And
He
that's
he
tough
passed
on a
away.
stepfather.
Yeah.
Seeing a stepson like that and you can't
Trying
be
to-
that father
yeah.
figure.
Yeah, I know. That had to have been
And you
difficult.
want to help, but it's like,
Yeah. No, where's the boundary at? Where do you step in? Where do you do these things? And
Yeah,
stuff like
the
that.
boundary.
It's a hard line to do. And, at the end of the day, what I came up with was that, hey, I'm just happy that he made my mom happy.
Yeah.
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Yeah.
And then my last question: when you meet clients in treatment,
Mhm.
does it? I guess I'm curious to see what your approach is. I mean, is your approach more like I've been where you are, like you can actually talk about those things, or is it more of a clinical approach where you try to maintain some distance? What works best for you?
It's a great question. It varies from person to person. You know what I mean? There's sometimes when you can just feel the empathy and the heart on somebody, and it's a lot of times what it is. It's those people that keep coming in and out.
Mhm.
You know, those ones that feel hopeless. Where you're like, dude, I know you're done. Like I know
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah,
What
You've
is
been overdone for years.
yeah, what is it? Why are you so scared to make this commitment
Mhm.
of saying that this is the life that I want now instead of my old life? I'm ready to cut that old life off for a new life. It's just so scary to say that, I think, because if you fail, then you're back to being a failure. But I'm like, you're already a failure, man. You're already fucking up.
Yeah.
Like, make this jump, dude. Make this leap of faith. I know it's scary. I know it is. But so sometimes it is like that where it's an empathy path of just like, I'm here with you. And
Yeah.
some people that are a little more analytical and like the clinical side, like I love to have those conversations too of why certain therapies work for certain people. What I've realized and what I see in all the studies is that the therapeutic alliance that you build with somebody is the main effector in somebody's treatment.
Mm.
That is the main thing that is going to help or break somebody. You can teach them cognitive behavioral therapy, do motivational interviewing to hopefully get them to change some behaviors and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's if they trust you, they'll let you
They don't
in.
think you care or whatever, then you're just doing it as a job. They're like, yeah,
No, and that's not what it is.
you're just here for the money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you see
No.
my paycheck?
I'm like, yeah, not just that, but I don't get paid anymore for you being here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You get paid
It's
any
easier
more,
if
any
you're
less.
not- yeah. But no, I really do enjoy it. Like I honestly, in my heart, think that's why I'm still alive. That's the only thing I could come up with was
Me
God.
too.
God kept me alive to help somebody else,
Absolutely.
to give back. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main focus of why you're doing this, why you do all the things you do. I love all the times you share in the meetings and stuff like that. Like, and you
Yeah,
have
we're
people
alike
resonate.
minds.
Yeah. It just resonates where I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the shit right there.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're out of time here. I hope you really appreciated Cliff's story here. I loved it. Wow, it went by quick as usual for an hour going through it. And we touched on a lot of the points and the key points out there. And I just want to do a call out to action. We really appreciate all the people that have been helping us on the website. Shout out to Mike and Matt, the people that have been helping on the website, IT people, other friends, everybody a part of the F3 recovery family. Definitely a shout out to Solomon here, the producer at the podcast place. You need to get it done. Shout out to NJED right here, Notorious JID, Notorious Jails, Institutions, and Death. The 3 promises of active addiction. Cliff's met him. I've met him.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't need to worry about him. He's at bay. He's working on other people out there. So we're going to go. We can be reached on all platforms. You can reach us on our website at f3recovery.org. Info on the emails, info@supersoberpodcast.org, info@f3recovery.org. You can go onto the resources page and then you can go to contact. You can email us there. If you want to share your sobriety dates with us coming up, we can give shout outs. If you have any questions for us, anybody in treatment, residential treatments, any form of treatments, any kind of behavioral therapist, any questions for any of the doctors that's been on, Dr. Evelyn Higgins, everybody that's been on there, you can just give us a shout out. We're going to keep moving forward and we're going to keep on keeping on. And thanks for listening.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to the Super Sober Podcast. Go to our website at f3recovery.org. That's F3Recovery, all one word, .org. We're turning fight, flight, and freeze into free form and flowing through practicing the 12 steps and staying accountable to change. Don't forget to keep on keeping on.